All right, so this is one of the videos I've been wanting to make for quite some time. Look, Kenton's sleeping. She's so cute. Um, with Gotchard, you know, uh, I will start off by saying yes, it has been almost 10 episodes since I've actually reviewed Gotchard at all. I've talked about in the time since, obviously I've reviewed some of the toys I've gotten, obviously Chemi cards. I did talk more about the release of the Ride Chemi cards and how it was frustrating, and I finally was like, you know what? We're at a point in the show where I have been watching it every week. Don't get me wrong. Where I'm just like, all right, I want to like kind of talk about the show as a whole right now because I noticed a lot of people stopped reviewing it weekly. Um, Even from the standpoint of uh, social media, most people either aren't talking about it or they'll talk about when new Chemi card like waves get announced, like the Phase EX and parallel cards coming out and this and that. But other than that, like people aren't having a lot of discussions about the show itself, and that's kind of what I want to do with this video. So I'm not going to be reviewing any episodes. I'm going to be talking about some stuff that's been happening over the course of the last 10 episodes, but how um, you know not every show is going to hit good right off the bat. You kind of got to stick with it. There's always an upward swing, which I saw around episode 9 and 10 of Gotchard, and now I haven't watched episode 15. That's airing this weekend. Um, so I'm only going to be talking up to episode 14, but like I said, I'm not reviewing anything. Like, I want to have a discussion about elements in the show that are done really well and why this isn't a bad show. And I never said this was a bad show. I just said with a slow burn type show, I don't want to review it because I feel like I would just be doing a recap. And I don't want to sit here and do a play by play of everything that happens in the episode because guess what? You've watched the episode. And if you haven't watched the episode, I'd rather do something like this where you're like, oh, those elements sound cool. Maybe I'll go watch the episodes. To me, that's more appealing than me sitting here throwing some clips up and be like, and then this happened. And then he hensioned. Look at this cool suit. And then bringing up negative stuff. That's not how I want to present my content. It's also a waste of energy to be negative about things. Now, I will say I don't think I've ever been overly negative about Gotchard. I think I, I like slow burns. There's elements of the show that I wish were more highlighted that aren't, but it is a good show. I'm enjoying it. And I think also from the standpoint of like I said, it's like slow burn. This style of show, it's like I like things like Heisei Phase One stuff. I'm a fan of Forze. I'm a fan of Ghost. I'm a fan of a lot of shows that a lot of people don't like. I get if you go back and watch my ranking all the Kamen Rider, uh, see all of Heisei, a lot of people still have some comments to make about me putting Ghost in S tier. That has become a Discord joke also. And it's one of those things where it's like, well, that's my taste in shows. I think Forze is a great show, one of my favorites. Obviously, Blade, Wizard, like the ones where people don't talk about a lot. Those are the shows that I actually enjoyed personally. Now, Gotchard has been doing a lot of cool things. I mean, mind you, in one of the episodes, we literally had a mecha battle versus a giant like tree kaiju, and I believe that was episode 9. And I was like, that is great. And one of the things is too I did recently because I was bored. I actually went through and I binged episode 1 to 14 a couple 2 or 3 days ago, just because I was like, I got nothing really going on, and I was like, I put that on while I was working on some other things, and I gotta say, binging this show, especially for a slow burn type show, is far. It's like yes, you can watch it week to week, but when some of those two-parter episodes we get, like the one with the little cactus that was in a plant, and also the one with the during the school trip, and everything else. Like watching everything just in one sitting actually made me like the show even more than I was watching it week to week. Um, and the show had some, and I will say I had some issues. I still do from the beginning half of the show where it was like these forms are showing up for maybe one or two attacks. You would never see them again. Um, and a lot of the forms I didn't care for. But then we got some bulky forms, okay? So we got this gold, was it Mechanicer? I'm gonna butcher the name. In episode 9 and 10, that thing was beautiful. That was such a good form. I was like, oof, give me a bulky form, please. I like it. And then literally in episode 11, we got another one with Lightning Jungle, and I was like, oh, even better. Give me the bulky forms. I love them so much. Um, and I will say, uh, besides like the cool forms, like bulkier forms, and this and that, I think one of the good things that started to happen in the latter half of the episodes that have been out so far is we kind of stopped with the amalgams every week, and it became, the Abyssal Sisters are showing up, and it's them that are more the antagonists of the episode, and going into more of the dynamic and some of the side characters, especially when Sabimaru had more focus on their character. I was like, oh yes, please. Like, the character growth on these side characters has been really good. Like I said, Sabimaru had like some of the best character work all the way up until like episode like 12 and 13, and I was like, so good. And the only thing I still have an issue with is kind of the inconsistencies this show is doing with the memory erasing plot point. So back in I think it was episode 8 or 7 or 8, it was the one with the father and the son with the little cactus plant. So when their memories were wiped, they still kind of had, the resolve of their tension between the two and everything else. They were all happy go lucky at the end. But then when you fast forward to the school trip episode and the memories were erased, Kajiki and Hijiri like kind of basically forgot everything they went through, forgot that they even met or knew each other in person. But it was kind of cool that they did show a scene where they walk by each other, don't even notice each other. Then the magazine they're holding, they bond over that. So they kind of got to that fateful encounter a second time. But it was like, the memory wiping is still something I'm like, okay, this has to be explained at some point, and it seems like it is kind of being more pushed to the forefront, especially with everything Kajiki is going through, because almost every time you see him now, he's just like, I feel like there's something I'm forgetting. There's something I'm not remembering. And then even with the most recent episode 14, which I'm going to go more into detail at some point in this video, we had X-Rex 8 Hodoro, and I guess X-Rex wanted to learn more about humans, so when he eats a human, he gets to see all their memories, and we got all these flashes of memories, basically everything of the last, 13 episodes. But then we had one quick flashback of Hodoro as a kid with Hopper 1. And then even he's like, wait, was that me with... And I'm just like, all right, we're going to get these ties, because obviously still this far in, anytime we see the Ichinose restaurant, that family photo, the father's face is still hidden by that little business card. So I feel like that is this scene in 14 was kind of one of those hints, like, okay, this is going to come up again. Get ready, because you're going to be seeing this, So it's kind of like still a plot point that every once in a while pops up. So you're like, hey, don't forget, this is still something we haven't explained. And I am kind of happy we haven't had any plot holes yet in the show. And like I said, one of the best things, like I said, was, Sabimaru, the character arc, especially going into us getting the character growth of everyone in the side characters from the alchemy school, starting to slowly, support Hodoro, see how he sees things, instead of just being like, all right, he's not doing good as an alchemist because he's breaking all the rules, he's doing things his own way, and it's not the way they teach. And I guess, and even with all that going on, I think episode 11 was kind of my turning point, where I was like, okay, we're cooking. Like, let's keep going, because this is obviously when we find out there's a traitor in the Alchemist Academy, and then even the Abyssal Sisters targeting Sabimaru to become Kamen Rider Dread, which that scene was insane for the Henshin, okay? And honestly, there's a lot of emotions in these whole entire scenes too, because Sabimaru is kind of like that. Like, I don't think anyone who watches the show could hate that character, especially with the character growth. Like I said, going from shy and talking with his tablet through like the Isaac program, to every once in a while starting to actually say things under his breath, just out of earshot, to him fighting as Dread, and the Isaac tablet is like, literally speaking for him, saying, "I don't want to fight," and this and that. And all that stuff was so good. And they also brought in forbidden alchemy, which is something I'm sure we're going to touch on more. Which is like, okay, there is more to this alchemy than really has been shown, because we haven't been shown much. It seems very more like a what's it called, where like you can move stuff in your mind, like telekinesis and stuff. It's been less of, it's more of that and actual like alchemy, because, and it's tough for me to like, because Full Metal Alchemist, one of my favorite animes. So it's like when I hear alchemy, I'm like, ooh, we're gonna get transmutation and stuff like that. And instead, it's just, hey, I can levitate stuff, you know. But Kamen Rider Dread, that whole episode 11 was kind of a turning point. Like I said, Dread was such a cool character, and all the action and all the drama that was included in all this. And also, everyone was throwing hands in that episode. Everyone was fighting. You had Spanner fighting one of the Abyssal sisters. I think it was Lachesis. I'm bad with the names. You had Rene with the smaller of the three sisters. I think it was like something with an A. I'm bad with names. We know this. If you've seen any of my Toku videos, especially if it's Super Sentai, I'm horrible with names. And just everyone was throwing down and throwing hands, and I'm like, this was a nice change of pace and tone for the show. And I feel like this tonal shift is what the show needed, because it was a very cookie cutter first like 9 episodes, and it was very, you could have technically you could have probably watched like episode 5. If as long as you watched the first 2 episodes, you could have like skipped an episode here or here, watch it. It would have been like, oh, okay, they're still going after chemis. He still wants to be friends with chemis. And then I felt like that was a very shallow characteristic for a while there, but now when they're adding the depths of other people supporting him, just how the chemis are, and even like all the different moving points, like we learn about something called the Association in episode 13, and this whole entire time, we have the Abyssal Sisters, who we know have their own master, and then we have this association, which basically are the higher ups of the Alchemist Academy, but they're obviously scheming for something, because they're literally like, you need to capture all these chemis, and you also, they won't say why, and then they're like, hey, you have till the end of the year, get me though, you haven't gotten any of the category or level 10 cards, which are the X cards. And I was like, man, something's going up on there, something's going on in here, and I'm digging it. It's cool. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of different things. And I think now that we get kind of like the foundation laid in the first handful of episodes, and now with this tonal shift and the pacing is different, I do have a lot of Heisei Phase 1 vibes with this show, especially some of the Heisei Phase 2 shows here and there. It's fun. It's a fun show. The cards collecting is really starting to frustrate me. I don't want to talk about it because I already did that in a video, so I'm going to not talk about the Chemi cards. This is just about what were presented in the show. And in the last couple episodes, we did finally get our power up with the Gotcha Caliber. So we had UFO X, and now we got X Rex, which the Henshin debuted at the end of 14. We're probably gonna get the form in this week's episode, which will probably be live at the same time this video goes live. So I'm not like, I was like, I'm not gonna wait till episode 15. I record videos when I have time, honestly. But I feel like with the upgrade form and everything else, and like one of the things that bothered me is like I said, a lot of the forms I didn't think were good looking. I did like our big bulky forms. I did like UFO X grew on me because I like UFOs. That's not a shocker to anybody, honestly. It's just there's a lot more going through, and with the episodes, I'm kind of like, okay, the Abyssal Sisters can't be the main villains for this whole entire show. That's obviously not going to be the case, and I'm instantly thinking back to like. Man, Revice, maybe. With the Deadman's, like seeing like, okay, like the Deadman's arc was just in the beginning. Yeah, there's some other stuff after Geef and this and that too, but like the actual just the trio as the villains was what, about 16, 17 episodes in before they went to the base and everything. So I'm like, I feel like in my gut they're going to be doing something similar with the sisters. Like, this isn't going to be a trio that's going to be the villains and a threat through the whole entire show. Obviously, that's not the really Kamen Rider way anyways. But I will say I am enjoying the show. Um, am I gonna go back to weekly reviews? I'm not sure yet. I kind of want to, but it's only because of the way the show is right now. I think if I was gonna review it, it would be less, like I said, a play by play. It'd probably be more like, hey, here's some new information we got in this. Here's how I think it fits into the narrative. Here's where I think the narrative is going, and they'd probably be a lot really short videos because I would not want to sit there and go through everything that happens in the episode. Or I may just do this every couple episodes or so. Be like, hey, let's talk about what we've been watching over the last couple weeks. I don't know. Let me know what you think of the show, and like, would you want me to do weekly reviews? I kind of miss to an extent having that consistency of a weekly toku like show to talk about in a video, but at the same time, it's kind of one of those things where it's like just I don't want to do a recap. I feel I don't like that, and I tried it. It worked for a bit, but it's like it's one of those things that gets kind of tiring. But yeah, let me know in the comments below. Are you keeping up with Gotchard? Have you binged it? Have you caught up? What do you think of where the show's going now compared to where it was in the beginning? Like I said, I think it's improved a lot. I think we're on an upward swing with momentum, which is kind of funny looking at Geats, how the first 16 episodes were just like adrenaline rush, action packed, and then it kind of slowly slowed itself down. Whereas Gotchard started off slow, and now it's ramped up the speed, and now it's just like, yeah, look at this action, look at all this stuff going on, boom, boom, boom. But yeah, that's it for the video. I got a few more videos possibly I'm gonna work on before Christmas and before the end of the year is over, besides my candy toy videos and everything else. So if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. I'm 25 subscribers, I believe, away from 1,200, which is really cool. I appreciate everyone for the whole year that's been, liking the videos, watching the videos, subscribing to the channel. Appreciate all of you. That being said, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.